And at the end of the yatra, they asked anybody want to get some of these big and large images that they had posted all over the walls. I said, yeah, I want that one. Because it was a meditation for me of the exchange between Mahaprabhu and King Pratāparudra. And so for a couple of years, I had this stuff on my wall. And then there's a constant tussle between spouses in the house, because, you know, aesthetics versus utility. And the aesthetics weren't as good, so I had to lose that. It was no longer on the wall. But for at least 2 years, I had it on the wall when I was able to meditate on it. Really beautiful painting, except it had one slight, I could say, defect or inaccuracy, which is, if you see the picture of King Pratāparudra, if you know, anyone know this pastime? What is the small defect you see? He was dressed as a beggar or as a Vaishnava, a simple Vaishnava. And what we see here is he's actually dressed a little royally with some nice ornaments and stuff. So this pastime is kind of like a movie, you know, the movie where it keeps you sitting at the edge of your seat, and you have this union between two parties. It's very sweet. It's a happily ever after kind of movie. And so that's where we get to.
God. And Chaitanya Bhagavat says that with any one act, Mahaprabhu is doing several things simultaneously. I'm often teased that I can only focus at one thing at a given time. But the Lord is so amazing that he can do several things with any one act, with any one pastime. And we'll see that with how he engages or he exchanges with Pratāparudra. Rejection. It's a very discouraging image, isn't it? You look at it, it's like, ah. So we've all probably experienced some rejection in our life, isn't it? Or you probably know someone who's experiencing or has experienced rejection. Rejection in the form of, let's say, a romantic partner. What happened? Okay. Rejection in terms of a romantic partner, or rejection in a job situation. You might go into an interview. Some children are rejected by their parents. Some parents are rejected by their children, especially in their old age. Some people are rejected within their communities. I know in ISKCON communities, I've been around for a little bit, that you see that happen sometimes, that people get rejected in certain groups of communities. In the school environment, we may not fit in. We may feel rejected by our peers and so forth. Isn't it? Anyone want to give an example of rejection that they've perhaps recently experienced? Not maybe yourself, but of others? Gopinath. It's very dangerous to have your children in the class. He said, I wanted a phone and you rejected it. Actually, this is very good, Gopinath, because we'll see through Pratāparudra's life what you can learn from it. All right? Anyone else? That makes it less personal for me. No rejections? Yeah.
At my workplace, we were trying to hire a new manager, and one of the it was an internal person who worked for a long time applied, and she didn't get the job. So she had come and shared with me that she felt she was qualified, and she didn't get it, so she had felt rejected.
Very good. So someone at work at Govind, Mike. So someone at work felt rejected because they didn't get the opportunity for promotion, right? They went through the interview. So how did they respond to rejection?
She just took it as, she was fine with it. She just continued in the department that she was working. But she, mentioned that if next opportunity comes, she would still like to.
It was probably
position.
disappointing for her.
Yeah.
Little dejection. Gopinath, how did you feel when you got rejected about your phone? Like what was going on inside of you?
I wanted to go in my room.
So you just wanted to leave,
Yeah.
distance yourself from your parents, huh?
Yes.
Were you feeling angry?
Yes.
Are you feeling angry, disappointed? Okay. I think we'll exclude Jiva from the conversation. Let's move on. All right. So these are some thematic qualities we'll see through the pastime of King Pratāparudra. Is humility, his eagerness or his determination, and his deep trusting relationships with the devotees. And keep sight of this, because these are three probably the most important qualities. I visited Jagannath Puri twice with my spiritual master, and in both times he's often described that these devotees of Mahaprabhu, they exhibit two primary qualities: humility and unbridled eagerness. Profound humility and unbridled eagerness. And especially in King Pratāparudra's example, we find such shelter taking, these deep trusting relationships in the devotees. It's where he's feeling shelter in the devotees. And it's not any devotees, it's devotees who, and we'll see how these devotees respond. They have these two qualities, not being non-judgmental and being non-envious. They want to promote him. They want to make sure that he actually gets Mahaprabhu's mercy. That's their sweetness. You see, that kind of selflessness that they carry, and then the trust that they've built up within the heart of King Pratāparudra is very, very, very sweet. So these three qualities, they sort of permeate through the pastime of King Pratāparudra. And we'll revisit this at the end. Pratāparudra specifically had intimate relationships with three devotees: Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Rai, and Kashi Mishra. I think I saw this image in Maharaj's first set of slides that he presented on Haridas Thakur. I guess we like the same image. I don't have his qualities, but at least I can use the same images as him. And that's a picture of painting of Pratāparudra. The narration of King Pratāparudra is primarily described from chapters 10 through 14 of Madhya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in chapter 10, the scene opens with Pratāparudra calling Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who's the chief priest. And he says to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that, I've heard through the grapevine, you know how it is, that a certain great saint by the name of Chaitanya has visited your home, has given you mercy, which he did. In chapter 6 of the same volume, we hear about how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya received the mercy of Mahaprabhu and converted him from an impersonalist to a staunch devotee. So he said, I've heard you've received the mercy, and he is a very great person, very kind. I'd like to have his audience. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, well, you're a king. And you know, he's a mendicant, he's a renounced person. Usually there's going to be some difficulty trying to get the audience of such a person. But I'll try. I'll give it my best shot. I'll try to allow him to, or allow you to see him. Now, one thing is that Mahaprabhu is no longer here. He's actually in South India, because Mahaprabhu had just left to South India for 2 years and he was going to return back to Jagannath Puri. Pratāparudra said, how can you let him leave? Such a wonderful person. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, I tried not to leave him, let him leave. I fell at his feet. I said, don't leave, please don't leave. But he's the independent, supreme personality of Godhead. What can I do? He can't be bound by anyone asking him to leave or actually stay. So Pratāparudra's response, and this is the deep, trusting devotee relationships. He says, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, you're the most vidvan person I know, the most learned, the most experienced person I know. And you're saying that he's God? I accept it. I just believe it. And because of that unflinching trust in the devotee of in the personality of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, his eagerness, his heart now was not only just curious, now it was attracted. I want to be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya enlisted him for some seva, for some service. King, you're the king. And would you happen to know when Mahaprabhu comes back? Because he was only for a short time he was in Puri, before he went to South India. When he comes back, do you know of a nice place where he can stay? In 13th chapter of the Gita, we hear how Krishna says one of the qualities of knowledge, one of the features of knowledge is one wants to stay in a solitary place. So Mahaprabhu wanted to stay in a quiet, solitary place to engage in bhajan and to focus on his loving relationship with Krishna. He's Krishna himself, but that's what he wanted to focus on. And that is not too far from the temple. Any suggestions? And the king, who, by the way, the king was, he was a son of Purushottam Dev, and he was pretty powerful. He had conquered a large part of the eastern side of the Indian coast. So he had Puri, he had all the way down to Andhra Pradesh area, like Rajamandri. That's where Ramananda Rai he had appointed as the governor. So in that tract of land, he was very powerful, very influential. And he's being asked, can you give me one small little place for Mahaprabhu? His relationship with Kashi Mishra was long-standing. So Kashi Mishra was a resident in Jagannath Puri. And we heard from Maharaj a few days ago about how Kashi Mishra was actually the guru of Pratāparudra. So Pratāparudra considered him a guru. And one of the things that, despite being a king, we see his humility. Despite being a king, every day when he was in Puri, during noontime, he would go to Kashi Mishra's house amidst all of his madness of work and massage his guru's feet. Every day. Some of us have the service of chanting Gayatri, right? And we have to do it morning, noon, and evening, right? I find it personally easy to do morning and evening. Noon is so difficult. Why? Because you have to like stop your work. The mode of passion is so strong. It impels you to just keep going and accomplish and get things done, that to stop and then just do nothing for 5 minutes, literally, is tough. And can you imagine Pratāparudra would do that? He would pause his day and go and massage his guru's feet. That's pretty impressive. And so he wanted to give the opportunity for his guru to serve Mahaprabhu, and he wanted Mahaprabhu to have a very nice place to stay. So he said, I know just the place, Kashi Mishra's house. And apparently in Orissa, any small little room is known as a Gambira in a house. And so in Kashi Mishra's palatial house, he had a small little room, and it's really small. For those who visited there, it's that small. And that was where Mahaprabhu stayed. So Sarvabhaumacharya agreed to the proposal, and he, when Mahaprabhu returned back from South India, he arranged for him to stay there. In the meantime, Pratāparudra had returned back to Cuttack. That Cuttack is the area where he was capital for the entire kingdom. So Mahaprabhu returns to Puri. Isn't that a nice image? I didn't have a picture of Mahaprabhu and Pratāparudra meeting or sort of in the Puri side, so I use this one. When Mahaprabhu returns from Puri, in the meantime, King Pratāparudra is eager. When's he going to come back? I'd like to meet with him. In Puri, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya approaches Mahaprabhu and tells him, I have a request to make of you, but I'd like to do so without any fear. So Mahaprabhu very matter-of-factly told him, don't worry, you can ask me anything you like. If I don't like your proposal, I'll reject it. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, the king of the land would like to meet with you. He's very eager for your association. You'd like an interview. Mahaprabhu said, in our colloquial language, no way, in hell, when hell freezes over. He didn't say it that way. He said, for a mendicant to meet a king or a woman, the opposite sex, is just like drinking poison. That's pretty harsh. Just like drinking poison. Then he went a little further. He said, being with a materialist like a king, or being with a woman, or being with those who are attached to women, is even worse than drinking poison. Because by drinking poison, you kill the body. And in the other case, you kill your consciousness. So the very famous verse, Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanmukhasya, is how it starts. And then he describes that for a person like myself, even touching the form of a wooden woman is detrimental. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, but he's a great devotee. He's a servant of Jagannath. He serves the devotees. So now he's trying to glorify him. He's trying to win his case. But pretty much, the judge had already said, no way, Jose. Mahaprabhu said, no. If you try to convince me, if you even try to convince me, I'm heading out of here. I'm going to Alalnath and I'm gone. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya felt defeated. But then he wanted to think about it. How can we make this happen? Hearing no news from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Pratāparudra got the message. So remember how you feel when you're rejected? But his humility and his determination outlasted. So he wrote a letter to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya saying that if being a king is the problem, that's fine. I will become a mendicant. I will pierce my ears, and apparently piercing your ears means you become a mendicant at that time. And I wear an ivory earring. and I will become a mendicant. I will give up my kingdom, everything that gives me wealth and prestige and people giving me attention, fame, glory. I will give it all up because I want Mahaprabhu's association. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya showed the letter to the devotees and said, this is what he's saying. He wants to give up being king. And they were like, yeah, this is going to be problematic. How can we let him leave the kingdom? Because he's such a good king. Devotee generally are good leaders, generally. No comment. No further comment. So they didn't know what to do. They tried to devise a plan. They weren't sure. They said, okay, let's try this. Let's go to see Mahaprabhu and tell Mahaprabhu all the glories of the king, but not say, request anything. Just speak wonderful things about the king. So all the devotees, headed by Lord Nityananda, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and others, they all went to meet Mahaprabhu. As soon as they saw Mahaprabhu, they became tongue-tied. Nobody said a word. They're just looking at each other, didn't know where to start. What do we say? Is he going to get upset? It was awkward. So finally, Mahaprabhu said, do you have something to say? So Lord Nityananda blurted out, the king wants to meet you, and he's going to give up his kingship because of you, because of not meeting with you. Mahaprabhu said, if he was to come to meet with me, you know what would happen to the whole sannyas order? I would be messing with the image, with the understanding of how renounced people are supposed to live. It's like taking a white cloth and putting a little dot of black ink on it. That black ink becomes very prominent, isn't it? I can't do that. So going round and round and discussing this, discussing that, finally Lord Nityananda proposed, look, to give the king a little bit of pacifying feeling, let us give him one of your outer garments. Mahaprabhu said, you're all very learned people, do what you like. So they said, yes, we did it. See how these devotees are there to support him. I was reading, sometimes Prabhupada got so upset with some of his devotees, like one of his disciples fell, was not able to keep his sannyas vows. And then there were other devotees that were not supporting him and were probably criticizing. Prabhupada got so angry that if you bring shame to an individual like that, they will never come back. We were talking about this yesterday. When persons are shamed or feel shame, they just want to run away, like Gopinath was saying, going into the room and not be with others because you're feeling the shame. So Prabhupada didn't like that. But what we see here is the devotees, even though the person is not being accepted on the surface level, let's be very clear, on the surface level, not being accepted by Mahaprabhu, the devotees were doing everything in their power to make sure that he gets the mercy of the Lord. And we see this time and time again in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We see it with the pastime of Kal Krishna Das, the devotee who went with Mahaprabhu to South India, and he got allured by the women of the Bhattataris. These are like a gypsy men, and he pretty much was rejected by Mahaprabhu. When they came back to Puri, Mahaprabhu said, I don't want to have anything to do with this person. Let him do what he likes. I'm not responsible for him. The devotees supported him. They said, don't worry, we'll do something for you. They made some service for him where he could go and tell all the pastimes of Mahaprabhu in South India to the devotees in Navadvip, like that. And Kal Krishna Das, Chota Haridas, when he was chastised by Mahaprabhu, all the devotees were supporting, and with the risk of losing their relationship with Mahaprabhu, they were requesting him, encouraging him, please accept Chota Haridas, and so forth. Many examples. The devotees were surrounding him and protecting him. And for Pratāparudra, they wanted to make sure he receives his mercy. So they got the outer cloth from Govinda, the servant of Mahaprabhu, and they gave it to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who sent it to the king in Cuttack. And the king received that, what's known as tadiya, with such grace, with such humility, with such gratitude. So happy to receive this that he worshipped that outer cloth every day. Then what happened? The king, along with his entourage, one of his governors was Ramananda Rai. Like I said, he was the governor in the Rajamandri area, which is in Andhra Pradesh. Mahaprabhu, this is a picture of Mahaprabhu meeting Ramananda Rai in that area when he went on his South India tour. It's a beautiful exchange. Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai became very tight, close, intimate associates immediately. And Mahaprabhu requested Ramananda Rai, give up your government service and just come stay with me. And we'll discuss Krishna Katha all day long. How would you like that? Leave your job immediately and go hang out with Mahaprabhu and Gambhira. So, so Ramananda Rai went to meet with the king, Pratāparudra in Cuttack, and he told him, I met with Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu wants me to leave my service and to spend time with him in Jagannath Puri. The king, as soon as he heard that, he was seated on his throne. He got off his throne, came down the steps, embraced embraced Ramananda Rai with such affection, and tears were streaming down his eyes. Oh my goodness, the Mahaprabhu wants to be with you. Oh, that's so wonderful. Yes, you can certainly quit your job. Not only that, you get full salary as pension for the rest of your life. Oh man, when will we have such a job? What a boss, huh? What a boss. What a boss. Full package. Not a severance package. It's a full pension. Go for it. And then his mood changed. And he said, but I am very unfortunate. I am this king who has all of this opulence, but I do not even have one small interview or meeting with Mahaprabhu. What is going to happen to me? Is being rejected. So Ramananda Rai, he's being so merciful and kind to me, and he was impelled to do something about it. So now Ratha Yatra is going to be coming up soon. So King Pratāparudra, along with his associates, along with Ramananda Rai, they all came to Puri. And in Puri, Ramananda Rai, even before going to see Lord Jagannath, he was so eager to try to make amends and be this mediator, so to speak, with Mahaprabhu. So he goes straight to Gambhira and goes to meet Mahaprabhu and says, Mahaprabhu, the king. He's such a great devotee. You know what he did? I wanted to follow your instructions, come and be with you, which I asked him, and he immediately gave me full salary, and he embraced me, and he did this and he did that. What are the chances you can meet with him? Mahaprabhu was very soft. He saw how his devotee is being served by the king. And Mahaprabhu said that, he quotes the famous verse from the Adi Purana, where Krishna says, the devotee of the one who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee, but one who's a devotee of my devotee, that is my devotee. So, and then he says the other very famous verse, which is from Padma Puran. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param tasmat parattaram devi tadiyanam samarchanam, which means that of all of the aradhanas, of all of the kinds of worships one can do, the highest is Vishnu worship. But tasmat parattaram, even greater than that, is tadiya, the devotees or those who are associated with the Lord, to serve them. So he says, surely by the mercy of Krishna, because you are a great devotee of Krishna, because he has served you, Krishna will give his mercy to the king. So he gave him that assurance. He didn't say directly yes, but he gave him that assurance that it'll happen in good time. So when they came back, the king and all the entourage, then the devotees from Bengal also came, because they heard from Kal Krishna Das. Remember? Kal Krishna Das had told them that Mahaprabhu has now arrived. He got that special service. So Mahaprabhu came. The devotees started to come to Puri to go meet Mahaprabhu. First, Paramananda Puri ran really quick and he met him. But then the rest came in good time, headed by Shivananda Sen. 200 devotees from Bengal came to Puri to meet with Mahaprabhu and to attend Rath Yatra. So as you can see, 200 devotees there. King Pratāparudra saw all these devotees. He was very amazed. Where did they come from? Oh, they come from Bengal. Who are they? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had moved from Navadip area to Puri a long time ago, so he didn't know many of them. He said, but my brother-in-law, Gopinath Acharya, knows. So they went on a rooftop of the palace, Gopinath Acharya and King Pratāparudra, and they were identifying who are all the devotees. It's a beautiful, beautiful section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita explaining this devotee has these qualities, that devotee has these qualities, and very sweet. It started with Advaita Acharya, King Pratāparudra saying, wow, what a personality, Advaita Acharya. He's so effulgent. Where's he coming from? You know? So as that scene was going on, Mahaprabhu personally came and he offered a garland to each devotee, and he personally put chandan or sandalwood paste on everyone's head because it's pretty hot there. That was the welcome that Mahaprabhu gave them. And he was actually sitting in Alalanath at the time when he heard the devotees had come, absorbed in his ecstasy. But when he heard the devotees has come and there's service to devotees, even higher than enjoying his own ecstasy. So he left that, came, received all the devotees with garlands and sandalwood paste, and tried to make arrangement for their living accommodations and so forth. Pratāparudra, as he was watching all this happen, he asked very pertinent questions, like, why is it that these devotees coming to a holy place are not shaving their heads, they're not fasting, they're not going to visit even Jagannath. They just come to see Mahaprabhu, and they're enjoying prasadam, and they're just having a great time. Like, what's up? This is a little strange. And so the Sarvabhauma Acharya and Gopinath Acharya explained to him, this is spontaneous devotion. These people, not us people necessarily, but these people have the right to not follow rules and regulations. They just have this ecstatic move of love with Mahaprabhu, and they just do that. They just have prasadam when they like, go see the deities when they like, and for them, Mahaprabhu is their life and soul. Pratāparudra asked several other questions, including, what is this kind of kirtan? It's so joyous, so wonderful. After hearing all the responses and feeling very satisfied, Pratāparudra then again served the devotees. For all of the devotees, he made arrangements for their residences, He made arrangements for their prasadam, and he made arrangements for their visiting the temple of Jagannath. So now, seeing these beautiful exchanges between Mahaprabhu and all the devotees from Bengal, can you imagine how much more eager and determined King Pratāparudra is? 200 devotees got his mercy with such love and intimacy, and he's still left out. He's still left out. So he goes to Sarvabhaumacharya again. He says, I'm going to give up my life. Of all of the, see how much mercy Mahaprabhu gives to everyone. The most lowly people, Jagai and Madai, get delivered. But there's this one king, that is unfortunate king that's not getting the kindness and the mercy of Mahaprabhu. He's come to deliver all fallen souls, but not me. Like, why? If that's the case, I'm so fallen, I'm so unfortunate, I'm going to give up my life. Sarvabhaumacharya sees this mood of Pratāparudra, his eagerness, his humility is astonishing. Vismita, the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, he's Vismita, like blown away. This person is amazing. Wow. He's ready to give up his life. So Sarvabhaumacharya said, you're a great devotee. I am sure Mahaprabhu will give you his mercy. We just got to figure out a plan. I think I've got a plan. Here's my plan. Rath Yatra is going to happen. Okay. And during the Rath Yatra, after a certain point, the cart is put on pause and Mahaprabhu will go to Jagannath Vallabh Gardens and rest there from all the dancing. You go there, you meet with him, and you recite the Rasa Panchadhyay, which is the 5 chapters that describe the pastimes of gopis and Krishna in the Bhagavatam. You recite that and go in very simple clothes. Don't show that you're the king. And I'm sure you'll receive his mercy. Pratāparudra said, great idea. That sounds good. But you're still very eager. So he kept nudging Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai was sold out to the idea that the king should meet with Mahaprabhu. So he kept repeatedly encouraging Mahaprabhu, please meet with the king. So this time again, Ramananda Rai approached Mahaprabhu and said, the king really loves you. The king is such a great devotee. He's so kind to the other devotees. He wants to be with you. So Mahaprabhu said, look, if I meet with the king, my reputation as a sannyasi is going to be destroyed. And not only that, just like you have white milk, which is very nutritious, very wholesome, you put a drop of liquor in that white milk and the entire milk is spoiled. Like that, he may be a wonderful person, awesome devotee, but just by that king or the Maharaj title, everything is spoiled. Which is interesting. We call sannyasis now Maharaj. So then Mahaprabhu says, I have a suggestion. In the Vedas, it's described that the son is a representative of the father. So send the son of the king and I'll meet with the son. So when the son, this is a picture of the son. When the son came, he was darkish in complexion and he had these beautiful hazel eyes and he wore a yellow dhoti. Mahaprabhu was, this is Krishna. He reminds me of Krishna. And with teary eyes, he embraced the son. The son erupted in ecstasy. And they just had a wonderful time. And then the son was sent back to the palace. Pratāparudra sees his son. He embraces his son. He feels the same ecstasy as if he was embracing Mahaprabhu. By the way, that was Mahaprabhu's idea to embrace the sun. So now we enter into Rath Yatra. This was a strong turning point. What happened is, at the start of Rath Yatra, the king, as a tradition, Purushottam Dev, his father, used to sweep the floor or the road before Lord Jagannath. And so here we see the king with a golden broom was sweeping the floor. And in addition, he would take scented water and throw it on the path. Just humble service unto the Lord. Mahaprabhu personally saw the king do this, sweeping with his humble nature, sweeping and genuinely wanting to offer some seva to Jagannath. This scene, the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, this scene captured Mahaprabhu's heart. And he decided in his mind, I am going to give him my mercy. Humble service, cleaning toilets, and so forth. Cleaning the temple room. What other humble services are there? Being a husband. I'll move on. So this scene was what captured Mahaprabhu's heart. During the Rath Yatra, many incidents happened with Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu he created 7 dancing parties, 4 in front, 1 on each side of the Rath cart and 1 behind. And each dancing party had 2 mridangas, several kartals, so it was all organized. And each dancing party, had a leader. And Mahaprabhu would be the oversight coordinator. So he would go to one party and then go to another party, go to another party, go to another party. In what point in time, Mahaprabhu simultaneously manifested in all 7 parties. And King Pratāparudra was the only one who actually got to see it. He gave him his mercy that Pratāparudra was the only one who could see Mahaprabhu manifesting simultaneously in all 7 parties. And each devotee, this is the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, each devotee within the party will say, Mahaprabhu loves me very much. Just like how Krishna was surrounded by cowherd boys, and each cowherd boy taking prasadam with Krishna was thinking, Krishna is only looking at me. Like that, every devotee was thinking that Mahaprabhu is only looking at me, is being with me. The other scene that Pratāparudra saw is that Mahaprabhu, when the Jagannath cart stops, because Jagannath sometimes doesn't want to move, he just stops. People tried to move him, he couldn't move. Mahaprabhu used his head to move the cart. And the cart started to move. Pratāparudra saw this. And he knew that he was receiving the mercy of Mahaprabhu to see this. One time, Mahaprabhu was dancing in such ecstasy, they need to provide protection because crowds are huge in India, even 500 years ago. So Mahaprabhu would be in the center dancing, and there would be 3 concentric circles surrounding Mahaprabhu, protecting him. In the 3rd concentric circle was Harichandan is his name. He is the chief commander of King Pratāparudra's army. So he had that circle to take care of. And Pratāparudra was right next to him, and they all were watching Mahaprabhu dancing in ecstasy. And what a sight. Can you just imagine? What a sight. Just like dancing and dancing. And all of a sudden, Srivas Pandit, who also wanted to see, came in front of them. Came in front of the king. So the king couldn't really see. He was trying to see. Harichandan tapped Srivas. Can you move? The king wants to see. That's my boss, right? Like, Srivas Thakur didn't care 2 hoots. He's looking at Mahaprabhu. Harichandan kept pestering him, please, I want my boss wants to see Mahaprabhu. Srivas Thakur finally got so irritated, he looked back at him and slapped the heck out of him. This is the chief commander of the military of King Pratāparudra. Harichandan was shocked. He wanted to do something. Pratāparudra said, no, hold on. You're so fortunate. You've been slapped by Srivas Thakur. I wish that happened to me. This is humility. I mean, he doesn't think anything of himself, being the king. And this is the culmination of rejection. Mahaprabhu is dancing and dancing, and usually when he falls in ecstasy, Nityananda Prabhu is there or some other devotee is there to pick him up. This time Mahaprabhu fell, there was nobody to pick him up. So the king, wow, he got to pick up the Mahaprabhu. As soon as he picked up Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu got into external consciousness, sees it's the king, and he goes, oh no! The Bengali is chichi. In Hindi also, right? Chi means like dirty. Oh, how I'm touched by the king. You. How would you feel? How would you feel? Rejection. Chi. I'm trying to help somebody. It's like he fell. I'm trying to help him. Oh gosh. Sarvabhaumacharya had to pacify him. He was feeling very disappointed, very dejected. Sarvabhaumacharya went to him and said, don't worry. He is actually only doing this. There's several levels of Mahaprabhu's meanings to his pastimes. He's only doing this because he wants to teach others not to associate with materialistic peace. He loves you very much. Don't worry. Okay, fine. So Pratāparudra was. Now, we might wonder, why would anyone treat someone else in such a way? I mean, he's giving you a lot of affection, a lot of care. He wants to be with you. But Mahaprabhu seems to be treating him so bad. Like, why? Why, right? You're scratching your head. Yeah, why? Can someone give her the microphone? Can you recite this, please?
Hare Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaho Vichar Vichar Korite Chitte Pabe Chamatkar.
She's the best verse singer, isn't she? Thank you. So Chintamani Mata is going to be my co-presenter here. That's for you, by the way. You're supposed to sit there. But you'll be there? Okay. You want to?
If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful.
So what is it? Why is Mahaprabhu acting in this way, right? So Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj encourages us to study Mahaprabhu's pastimes and go deeply into it, especially if you have an analytical brain. Why? So I don't have much of a brain, but with a little bit I have, or a heart, I should say, with a little bit I had, this is what my realization is based on some of the beautiful sections of the Bhagavatam that I've studied. Okay. This is a section that I would call the science of reciprocal relationships that's spoken between Krishna and the gopis. So after Krishna leaves the gopis, they cry out ecstasy, please come back, please come back. Krishna comes back after many things. And when they're back with Krishna, the gopis say, with a little bit of anger or resentment, they ask him, oh Krishna, some people reciprocate the affection only of those who are affectionate towards them. Others show affection even to those who are indifferent or inimical. And yet others will not show affection towards anyone, like you. Dear Krishna, please properly explain this matter to us. Huh? Science of reciprocal relationships. Krishna explains each one. The first one. So, those who reciprocate with affection only, he says, these are so-called friends who show affection for each other only to benefit themselves. And they're actually selfish. Indeed, if they did not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. Some people are genuinely merciful, or like parents, naturally affectionate. Such persons devotedly serve even those who fail to reciprocate with them. Oh, by the way, the word that's used there is sauridam. And I was thinking, in Bhagavad Gita, we hear how, what is that word? Bhuktaram yaga tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam. The meaning of surit that Krishna, gyatva mam shantirabhachati, the meaning of surit means that Krishna is such a person that devotedly serve us even though we fail to reciprocate with him. That's what surit means. That's the definition of surat. And then there are others. So he says, others show no affection at all. Why? Because either A, they're spiritually self-satisfied. B, they're tired of material relationships. They've got enough relationships. They don't need any more. They're just ungrateful. Akritagya. And they're simply envious of superiors. Or they're simply envious of superiors. So these are the four kinds of people who do not reciprocate with affection. Now, Krishna says that's all in the material realm. Now let me talk about myself, because that's what you girls are talking about. Right? It's about me. Here's about me, why I sometimes don't reciprocate. Naham tu sakyo bhajato pijanton bhajamyamisham anuvritti vrittaye. That's the key word, anuvritti vrittaye. Yathadano labdha dane vinashte tat chintayanyan nibrato naveda. But the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. And doesn't that happen with Pratāparudra? Then they become like poor men, a beggar, who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who has thus become so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else. Mahaprabhu is curating the consciousness of King Pratāparudra. He is helping to carve out or chisel the consciousness to make him a pure devotee. Which, by the way, he already is, but this is just pastime. He already is because he's actually King Yamuna in his previous incarnation. All right. So now we're going to enter into chapter 14, where Mahaprabhu is dancing, has come to a pause. He's entered into Jagannath Vallabh Gardens, and he and the other devotees are resting there. So now we have Chintamani Mataji reciting for us the Bengali. I want all of us to sort of pay really close attention to the Bengali and the English and just hear what happens, because this is the climax. This is where the union between Mahaprabhu and Pratāparudra happen.
এই মতো প্রভু আছেন প্রেমের আবেশে, হেন কাল প্রতাপ রুদ্র করিল প্রবেশে। When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was resting in ecstatic love, Maharaj Pratāparudra entered the garden. Sharvabhauma upadeshe chhari rajbesh, ekla Vaishnava veshe korilo probesh. Following Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's instructions, the king had given up his royal dress. He now entered the garden in the dress of a Vaishnava. সব ভক্তের আজ্ঞা নিল জোর হাত হইয়া প্রভু পদ ধরি পরে সাহস করিয়া. Maharaj Pratāparudra was so humble that with folded hands he first took permission from all the devotees. Then with great courage he fell down and touched the lotus feet of the Lord.
So he first took, I want to just highlight, he first took permission of the devotees who were there. He first took their blessings before he approached Mahaprabhu.
আখি মুদি প্রভু প্রেমে ভূমিতে শয়ান নৃপতি নৈ পুণ্যে করে পাদ সম্বাহন. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lay on the raised platform with his eyes closed in ecstatic love and emotion, the king very expertly began to massage his legs. রাসলীলার শ্লোক পড়ি করেন স্তবন জয়তি তেধিকং অধ্যায় করেন পঠন. The king began to recite verses about the Raslila from Srimad Bhagavatam. He recited the chapter beginning with the words Jayati tedhikang janmana vraja Shrayata indira shashvadatrahi Jayati tedhika janmana vraja Shrayata indira shashvadatrahi Daita drishyata dikshutavakas Tvai dhrita savas Tvam vichinvate Daita drishyata dikshutavakas Tvai dhrita savas Tvam vichinvate. The gopis said, O beloved, your birth in the land of Vraja has made it exceedingly glorious. And thus Indira, the goddess of fortune, always resides here. It is only for your sake that we, your devoted servants, maintain our lives. We have been searching everywhere for you, so please show yourself to us. শুনিতে শুনিতে প্রভুর সন্তোষ অপার বলো বলো বলি প্রভু বলে বারবার. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these verses, he was pleased beyond limits, and he said again and again, go on reciting, go on reciting. Tava kathamrita shlok raja je porilo uthi prema beshe prabhu alingana koilo. As soon as the king recited the verse beginning with the words Tava kathamritam, the Lord arose in ecstatic love and embraced him. Tumi more dile bohu amulya ratan, mor kichu dite nai dilu alingan. Upon hearing the verse recited by the king, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you have given me invaluable gems, but I have nothing to give you in return. Therefore, I'm simply embracing you. এত বলি সেই শ্লোক পড়ে বারবার দুই জনার অঙ্গে কম্প নেত্রে জলাধার. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to recite the same verse again and again. Both the king and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were trembling and tears were flowing from their eyes. Tava kathamritam tapta jivana kavibhiridita kalmashapaha. Tava kathamritam tapta jivana kavibhiridita kalmashapaha. Shravana mangala Srimadatata bhuvi grinante je bhurida jana. Shravana mangala Srimadatata bhuvi grinanti je bhurida jana. My Lord, the nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those who are aggrieved in this material world. These narrations are transmitted by exalted personalities, and they eradicate all sinful reactions. Whoever hears these narrations attains all good fortune. These narrations are broadcast all over the world and are filled with spiritual power. Those who spread the message of Godhead are certainly the most munificent welfare workers.
Yeah.
Burida, burida boli kore alingan, iho nahi jane iho hoy kon jan. After reciting this verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately embraced the king and cried, "You are the most munificent, you are the most munificent." At this point, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not know who the king was.
Apparently.
পূর্ব সেবা দেখি তারে কৃপা উপজিল, অনুসন্ধান বিনা কৃপা প্রসাদ করিল. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy was aroused because of the king's previous service. Therefore, without even asking who he was, the Lord immediately bestowed upon his mercy upon him.
Yeah.
এই দেখো চৈতন্যের কৃপা মহাবল, তার অনুসন্ধান বিনা করায় সফল. How powerful is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without even inquiring about the king, the Lord made everything successful. প্রভু বলে, কে তুমি করিলা মোর হিত, আচম্বিতে আসি পিয়াও কৃষ্ণ লীলামৃত. Finally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Who are you? You have done so much for me. All of a sudden, you have come here and made me drink the nectar of the pastimes of Lord Krishna." Raja kahe, ami tomar dasher অনুদাস, ভৃত্যেরও ভৃত্য করো এই মোরাস. The king replied, "My lord, I am the most obedient servant of your servants. It is my ambition that you will accept me as the servant of your servants." তবে মহাপ্রভু তারে ঐশ্বর্য দেখাইল, করে হোনা কারে হোনা কহিবে এই নিষেধ করিল. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed some of his divine opulences to the king, and he forbade him to disclose this to anyone.
Yeah, he showed him his mercy. He showed him his Vishnu form.
রাজা হেন জ্ঞান কভু না কইল প্রকাশ, অন্তরে সকল জানেন বাহিরে উদাস. Although within his heart, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew everything that was happening, externally, he did not disclose it. Nor did he disclose that he knew he was talking with King Pratāparudra. প্রতাপরুদ্রের ভাগ্য দেখি ভক্তগণ, রাজারে প্রশংসে সবে আনন্দিত মনে. Seeing the Lord's special mercy upon King Pratāparudra, the devotees praised the king's good fortune and their minds became open and blissful. দণ্ডবত করি রাজা বাহিরে চলিলা, জোর হস্ত করি সব ভক্তরে বন্দিলা. Submissively offering prayers to the devotees with folded hands and offering obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the king went outside.
Yeah. Thank you. So when Mahaprabhu embraces other, he's giving his mercy. Here he's, I am nothing to give you but my embrace. You have given me mercy. This is how he feels about Pratāparudra. A few minutes ago, he said, Chichi. But see, not just from rejection to not just acceptance, is like you are my Lord, Pratāparudra. You've given me so much. He's feeling so grateful. And he shows him his divine form. And Pratāparudra always is in consciousness. Who are you? Oh, I'm King Pratāparudra. I'm the servant of your servants. And then when he was leaving, pranams to the devotees, that you have given me this mercy, that you took care of me. You made this happen. I'm aware of time, and there's a lot more to say about King Pratāparudra, but we'll move on. And I'm going to sort of close up at this point. This is a picture that Maharaj showed. This is a picture that King Pratāparudra commissioned himself, where he's paying obeisances to all of the associates and Mahaprabhu himself. Now let's take the next 11 minutes that we have left and talk about these three qualities that we find in Pratāparudra: his humility, his eagerness, his determination, and his deep trusting relationships with the devotees. I want, if you don't mind, think for yourself, which is your strongest aspect that you have in your heart, and which is an area that maybe could use some help. And Pratāparudra will probably be happy to give it to us if we pray to him. I want to share this model with you, which is an interesting one, especially as we're trying to build a temple together and build a community together. So one of the persons that I particularly like hearing from is not necessarily a Krishna devotee, but he is a Christian who is a leadership coach and a team, like an executive coach and a team builder. He's got his own company called the Table Group. They're pretty large. One of his models is, he's got several models. One of a very famous model is called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Maybe someday I might be able to share that with you. But here what I'm showing is his model called the Ideal Team Player. What I noticed in my study of Pratāparudra Maharaj is there's a very strong resemblance between the qualities of an ideal team player or community member, you could say, and the qualities that Pratāparudra exhibits. Humility, humble; eagerness, determination, hungry or eagerness; and then deep trusting devotee relationships corresponds to being smart, because he doesn't say smart is intellectual smartness, it's emotional smartness, knowing how to build strong relationships. So if you're just humble and you don't have any others, you're like a pawn. If you're just hungry, you're a bulldozer. If you're just smart, you're a charmer. If you have humility and smartness, you're a lovable slacker. I like that. If you're humble and you're hungry, but you don't have emotional intelligence, you're an accidental mess maker. You guys have experience with that one? And then if you're hungry and smart and you don't have humility, you're a skillful politician. But if you have all three, you're an ideal team player. Pratāparudra was an ideal team player. And what a community created. That's why the devotees didn't want him to leave his post as a king. Something to consider. Where are we? I did this with my team members at work also, is this model of ideal team player. What is your strongest? What is your weakest? How can you grow? All right, I'll leave 7 minutes for questions or comments, reflections, thoughts. We have a microphone. Gopinath, or what's that? Anirudh, can you run the mic around? Thank you, sir.
This repeated theme of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu putting his devotees through very severe tests keeps coming up again and again and again. And my question yesterday to Guru Maharaj about, failing in these tests, I feel that this class kind of brought it together for me, in the sense, it's not about how we do in those tests. It's about how we depend on the devotees and on support through our tests. And King Pratāparudra exemplifies this so well, that, how do you sustain your spiritual life amid so many tests is by taking complete shelter in the devotees. And a couple of things you mentioned about the devotees extending to King Pratāparudra. You said the two qualities of the devotees were they were non-judgmental and they were non-envious in extending care to King Pratāparudra. So I wanted to get your thoughts on what is the correlation between being non-judgmental and being non-envious in us extending care and support.
The correlation between those two qualities?
Yeah.
They go together. Well, being non-judgmental, you may not be. Envy is just part of our beings. We're all here because of envy. I mean, if you look scratched underneath most people's hearts, almost 100%, there's envy there. There's naturally envy there. The non-envious piece is, at least the devotees are trying to be non-envious, and they're trying to rid themselves of that black stain where you want to look for the benefit of others. You want to uplift others, make them receive the Lord's mercy. And non-judgmental is where you're not, very similar. You're not putting people in a box. You're giving them, you're noticing that they may have certain defects, but you give them the area, or give them a little space that, they can grow. They can certainly grow. And my perception of who they are may be completely wrong. I don't know where they're coming from, right? So non-judgmental means a lot more openness to dealing with others. One of the things that I've sort of realized is that maturity, a sign of maturity, is indicated by lack of conviction in our own perceptions, or weakening of conviction of my own perception of how I perceive things. I'm not so convinced that that's right. That's a sign of maturity. And so that openness allows one to be non-judgmental. And then non-envious is where the heart becomes cleaner. It's not just openness, but it's where you're actually looking for growth of an individual. But they're very much related. But thank you for that reflection. That's really good. That, what is it that keep us going? It's like Prabhupada would say, hang on to my dhoti. Prabhupada, I can't, it's not working. I'm not, just hang on to my dhoti. Just hold on to my dhoti. Yeah. Oh yeah, we got to, yeah, sure.
Mataji, I was going to suggest that breakfast just takes 15 minutes to eat. So maybe we could go a little longer. Prabhu, I just wanted to say this was so nice. I mean, this was just so nice. And I hope it's recorded, right? So we can hear it over and over again. And it really, I think, like yesterday, we were, discussing different things. And, in the course of the Ramachandra Puri discussion, speaking about not fault finding and being in the service mood. But I think the point that you mentioned about like deep trusting relationships and how Lord Chaitanya exemplifies this takes it to the next level. The basis of all of that is the affection and the love that devotees feel with one another, and that inspires one to do that. So I just wanted to say that was just, it really, really affected me, very touched me. And then also I wanted to mention one of the things that, a few things came out really was how you mentioned Maharaj Pratāparudra, when he hears that Lord Chaitanya will not accept him because he's a king. And he says, well, if being a king means I don't get Lord Chaitanya's mercy, then I won't be a king. I'm just going to give up my post. And that's the absolute determination we need to get Lord Chaitanya's mercy.
Yeah.
What a degree to have a mercy. Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's one more thing. I wanted, now I'm just forgetting it. But yeah, it's just and then how you mentioned the support of the devotees, how they wanted to do everything that they could to see him succeed.
Yes.
To see him succeed.
Yes. Yes.
And one question that I had in that regard is that once in a while, and I think maybe you have an experience of this. You support another devotee who is needing the support, and you see that. But then, after supporting that devotee, rather in the materialistic conception. In the material world, when you support someone to rise, then once the person rises, they throw you out, they chew you up and throw you out, right? That same mentality sometimes stays with devotees. You support them to rise, but then all of a sudden it almost makes the relationship less sweet because of that materialistic concept. And what would be your advice in that situation? Because you feel sort of an emptiness in your heart, like you actually want to support this devotee and you are supporting. You're also maybe, that's also reciprocation. There's a nourishment on both sides, but then there's a sort of an ungratefulness maybe, or just.
Yeah, absolutely. Where we're headed, where the heart is being curated to go, is to a place where it's not between us and them anyway, it's between us and God. And when we experience that, when we mindfully are serving others with this mood with this consciousness that Krishna is going to be pleased, that Prabhupada is going to be pleased, or Krishna is going to be pleased, and we put our hand back in the japa bead, back in the japa bag, and we're touching our beads and we're going Hare Krishna, and we're chanting Hare Krishna, and our plea to Krishna when we're chanting is Om Krato Smara Kratam Smara Krato. I've done this service for these people. Please give me your mercy in my relationship with you through this chanting of the holy name. So the service we do, the investment is not so much for receiving some kind of gratitude back, but it's so that there's a deeper relationship with Krishna through chanting of his holy name. So if that becomes our full motivation, then one can keep serving others without expectation. And even if gratitude does not come, that's fine. Maybe even better than having gratitude come, because now I can be bewildered by the gratitude that I did something. And false ego becomes inflamed. So if there isn't gratitude, but it's a secret thing between me and Krishna that I've actually extended to this devotee, it's a secret thing, it's between me and Krishna. So nice. And it's okay. Now we are social beings, so we need some degree of relationships with others, right? That's nourishing and wonderful. So then we place it on non-judgmental, non-envious devotees. That's where we place our heart, and we trust. We make ourselves vulnerable to those relationships, and so making ourselves vulnerable to relationships where you can get hurt. Ultimately, it's Krishna. There's no one else who can really not hurt us. I mean, see, even the gopis felt hurt by Krishna, but you work it out. Sometimes, it depends on situations. Your question was very generic, right? Sometimes in some situations, we want to talk it out, especially in a husband-wife relationship or an intimate relationship where you're living together. You want to talk these things out because you don't want to let it fester as a grudge or a resentment that later comes out. And, there's one story of a husband and wife where the husband says, I keep getting angry at you and you never respond. She says, yeah, the reason is I use your toothbrush to clean the toilet. It comes out in different ways. So in some relationships, if we're feeling like that, we're extending, we want to support someone and we're not receiving back that reciprocation, we might want to talk it out. Hey, I felt disappointed, I felt disturbed, I felt disconnected from you because blah, blah, blah. What? Maybe you can share your perspective. Maybe I got things wrong. Talk it out. But ideally, our cultivation through spiritual life is finding that deep place within where it's a secret relationship between us and Krishna where we're serving others. That's the motivation to serve others. It's the follow-up to that. Anirudh, it's him. Thank you.
So, and how would you see the situation where, let's say, you support a devotee, and as a result, you see, not that we are someone to judge, but you can see that as a result of your support, maybe that devotee became like helping children, right? We really help them, support them. And then as a result, they become very successful. They become very proud.
Yes.
So then should we understand that our support was on a material level, or we should not have supported? Because sometimes you can actually feel afraid then to support a devotee because you feel, well, I did that and the result wasn't good. So let Krishna support the devotees because that made them go actually in the wrong direction.
There cannot be a cookie cutter answer to such a question, obviously, right? It all depends on the situation. And it depends on the person, because some people are more inclined to pride and some are not. And Mahaprabhu, I don't know what his reasons are. Krishnadas Kaviraj says, who knows? Who can understand the dealings of Mahaprabhu? How he dealt with Chota Haridas? Who knows? But let's say with the king. Let's say the king said, I want an interview. So Mahaprabhu said, sure. The king may have, I'm the king. I can get an interview with anyone. So he made him humble. That was his service to Pratāparudra. He made him really, really humble. That was his service. So it may be that still serving, we're always still serving them or still supporting them, but we may not support them in a way that they see it support. But we're still supporting. In our hearts, we know we're trying to help this individual, because if we help him in a certain way, they'll become proud. Okay, we help in this other way, that'll help to curate their consciousness. Right? So it's always supporting, always serving. It's just different ways of how you might do it. Any online? Oh, we have 7 minutes over time. Are you okay? I'm okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna. There is so much appreciation from the online attendees. This is very, very
My
touching.
appreciation too.
Very touching. Raghunandan Prabhu, he has a comment on that non-judgmental and non-envious. It seems that pride is a factor that's common to both being judgmental and being envious. In other words, being judgmental and being envious is an outcome of pride in one's heart.
Well, you could say pride is a source of envy, or envy is a source of pride. Either way, it gets all muddy and deep, right? When you look at the 6 enemies of the mind, I've thought about this a lot. What is the source of the 6 enemies of the mind? Okay, what are the 6 source? The 6 enemies of the mind, which is like the root. It's muddy. Sometimes the envy of Krishna is what brought us to the material world, and then you have all the other things come. Then you hear Sanatana Goswami that says karma is the root of all anarthas, right? The material lust. So there's different ways to look at it. But anyway, go ahead.
This is from Nityan Pran Prabhu, a comment. I
Nityan
found that
Pranam. My pranams to him.
I think
And
so.
to everyone
It
else.
says NPD, so I'm thinking
Okay.
it's Prabhu. I found the class delightfully narrated. I went high when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu granted his mercy to the king. So true. I became morose when the king was rejected. Yet your narration kept me hopeful that the devotees would extend their mercy to the king. I'm so amazed that despite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's quote-unquote rejection of the king, the devotees did not shun him. On the contrary, they brought him closer. The Venn diagram was brilliant.
Thank you, Prabhu. Missing you.
And we have 2 questions, Prabhu.
Yeah.
This is from Taruni Radha Mataji. Trying to be humble and cultivating eagerness is something one can work on, but having trusting relationships with devotees and even having such deep relationships is something which is bestowed by the grace of Krishna. One is very fortunate to have such relationships. I'll appreciate any thoughts from your end.
Absolutely right. Bang on. Having trusting, deep relationships with devotees is not, it doesn't come easy, or it doesn't come, it's not ubiquitous, it's not pervasive. It's very special, and it is Krishna's mercy for sure. I'd say the number one quality perhaps that would help trust is being vulnerable ourselves, and our own ability to be vulnerable requires some degree of honesty with ourselves, and from self-honesty can come self-acceptance, and then vulnerability in our relationship with others, which builds trust. Trust is a very deep subject. And I remember just before the pandemic, I did a presentation on just the item of trust and Mahaprabhu's pastimes, to hear, all the aspects of trust, what builds trust, what breaks trust, all from Mahaprabhu's pastimes. It was a lot of fun. But this point about vulnerability, I think, is really strong, especially when you're interacting with elevated persons.
The next question is from Shriya Mataji and Girivaradhari Prabhu. Very beautiful class, very enlightening. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Ramananda Rai, who is governor, kind of king to a state, Rajamandri, but not King Pratāparudra. How can we understand? Thank you for great class.
My mind blanked out. Can you tell me the class? I tell you the question again?
Yeah, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Ramananda Rai. He
Yeah,
is also
yeah.
kind of in a kingly governor
Yes,
position,
yes.
but not king himself.
Yes.
So how do we understand that?
How do you understand Mahaprabhu giving the governor his audience and love and care immediately, as opposed to Pratāparudra after a long experience of pain and rejection, so to speak? Yeah. Mahaprabhu is not cookie cutter, isn't he? He deals with everyone so differently. I don't know what's in the heart of Ramananda Rai or of King Pratāparudra. Who knows? But the Lord deals with everyone so uniquely, so differently. And that's why it's important to remain open and not judge others. Who knows? Not put people in buckets. Just because someone is a TP, blah, blah, right? Or temple president, we don't know what's going on for everyone and their backgrounds and their lives. And what is it that will help them move the next step? We don't know, right? Okay. So I think you have one question. Can I do one more? Okay.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. I am very grateful for the presentation and your thoughtful way in including Chintamani Mataji also with nice narrations of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah.
Hold the mic closer.
Yeah. So it was so amazing to listen the whole past time. I have two questions. So quickly, first one is you are talking about the protection of the devotees in the life of we see like Kala Krishna Das and Maharaj Pratāparudra Dev and everyone. So in our life also we see so many ways devotees protections are coming. So what is the way I should reciprocate when this reciprocations are coming or protection is coming in my life?
Again, is unique. Each person is different. Each of the devotees who are helping us have a different personality, and what they particularly appreciate may be different. Some devotees want words of appreciation in response, like gratitude or something like that. And that's one way. The way that Maharaj speaks about this is that the most important or the most wonderful way, because as Prabhupada spoke about this, the most important way to express gratitude is through living the teachings. He speaks about Gandhi, right? Like if you don't just put a statue of Gandhi in a park somewhere to be pooped on by pigeons. We'd rather live the life of the Gita, because Gandhi studied the Gita like that. So to follow the teachings and actually implement in our life and be an example of their love and mercy and giving it to others is perhaps the most strongest way of reciprocating with that affection that we've received. Yeah?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
And other one is the science of reciprocal relationship. So that was very amazing you shared. So if you can elaborate, or if you want to share more, or maybe
I think we're out of time, so maybe we can chat offline.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just to want to say how beautiful. Yesterday Maharaj said Sakshat, Avirbhav, Avesh. In your narration, I saw all that coming. It was so wonderful. And the Chintamani's recitation and
Haribo.
I mean, this is the most beautiful drama I experienced, I think, so far. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
If it made you happy, then our life is successful. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki.
Jai.
Maharaj Pratāparudra ki. Gaur Bhaktavind ki. Go Premanande.
We'll have breakfast now and come back in exactly 1 hour from now for Maharaj class. Thank you.